everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to paint a mountain sunset. So I'm going to start by taking my size 3/4 flat brush and I'm going to load it up with clean water, and I'm going to apply a fresh coat of clean water over the top area of this painting. I'm going to stop about halfway down, and I want there just to be a nice sheen of water. I don't want my water to be pooling in any corners. I just want a nice even coat. And this is going to be using the wet on wet technique. And so now what we're going to do, I already have my colors prepared before I started painting. I'm going to dip my flat brush into my blue paint. I have a pretty dark blue mixture, and I'm going to paint that right across the top onto the wet surface. Just like that. I'm just going to take a little bit more and paint right over that top just so it's a little bit darker. We are going to come in with a second coat for this. All right, and then I'm going to clean this brush off completely. I'm going to dab off any extra water on my paper towel, and then I'm going to go into my orange paint mixture that I already have prepared. And I'm going to start a little bit, this section's going to be thicker than the blue. I'm just going to work down, so below, and work my way up to where the orange and the blue are going to intersect. I'm not going to go up too high. I'm going to just dab a little bit up there. I get a little bit more pigment on my brush. Just dab up there. And then I'm going to blend that out. And then clean that completely off. Again, dab my brush off the extra water, dip it into my yellow paint, and then I'm going to start just one line below the orange, and then I'm going to work my way up completely through, but stop before I hit the blue. And with the yellow, it's okay to bring the orange back down into it as well. We really want this to be a more orangish yellow. We don't want it to really stand apart too much. All right, and that was our first step. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my heat gun and I'm going to dry this with my heat gun. You don't have to do that at all. You can just let this air dry. I do love a heat gun. It makes the painting process so much quicker. So I will be right back when this is dry. All right, now that my painting is dry, I'm going to go back in. This time I am not going to wet the area that we just painted. I'm going to leave it dry. And I'm going to go back in with a very thick coat, a thick mixture of that blue paint, and I'm going to paint in right up here. It's a little bit more water. See how thick and dark that is? But these layers just are really going to start building on each other. And then while this is wet, so that you want to work a little bit quickly, rinse off your brush quickly. And then put in the orange. Dab in the orange a little bit over here. And then while that is still wet, clean off my brush, go into the yellow again, start the yellow below, and then work my way up, and then bring it down into the yellow. All right, and there we have our sunset. So we're gonna let this layer dry. See how much more vibrant it is? It is so amazing just what one more coat can do. And then you also saw the difference between the wet and wet with the sunset and then the wet on dry as well. All right, we're gonna let this dry and we'll come back and we'll put in our mountains. All right, so we're gonna add our first mountain layer. We're gonna start with the lightest wash of blue. So I have a light wash of blue mixed up here on the side. I'm gonna add just a little bit of black. You can also use Payne's Gray if you have it. to just give it more of a grayish tone. The way to make this paint lighter than up here is just to add more water. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start from this corner and I'm just going to draw out the outline. And then once I have my outline drawn out, I'm going to just load up my brush and I'm just going to fill in this entire area with that blue mixture. And then I'm going to take my flat brush, dip it into the blue mixture, and I'm going to bring this color all the way down. Even though right now what's getting lower than the mountain looks more blue, it's just going to help with the transition of putting the mountain layers on top. Just going to keep that color a little bit more consistent. And then I really like how this looks. I like how the color fades into the sun, but you can totally do another layer and make it darker, more predominant if you would like. We're going to let this dry and then we're moving on to our next mountain layer. For our next mountain layer, all I did was add more pigment to that first blue paint mixture. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did with this mountain. I'm just going to start on this edge. Right over here. And I'm going to just first outline the mountain area. A great way to test this out first is to have all of these paint colors on a sample sheet of paper so you can test your mixture before you put it on the page to make sure that it is going to be darker than the layer that you had put down previously. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm adding the paint to the rest of it as I work down. And with this one, we are just going to leave it wherever you feel comfortable, honestly. You just want to make sure that it's going to be low enough to go behind your next mountain layer. Alright, and we're going to let this dry. And we'll be right back for the next layer. Right, now we're going to add our third layer. So I'm going to bring it up starting at the very end. Make a rounded point. Go down, back up. Just slightly higher. A rounded point. That's going to curve back up and off the page. And again, I made this paint color darker than the previous layer to make it stand out. And then this time I'm gonna get my flat brush again, dab off any extra water, and I'm gonna bring that color all the way down. All right, and let's let this layer dry. Okay, and we're on to our last layer. And this layer, I'm going to just be using Payne's Gray for my last layer. And I'm just gonna mix just a touch of the blue with it, but you really don't even need to because you just want it to be as dark as it can get. I like Payne's Gray a little bit better than black, but if you just have black, it works too. So we're gonna start down here, kind of go up. I want it to be a little jaggedy, so I'm gonna leave a little bit of dots as I go toward the top, just so it's not so smooth. And come back down with the same kind of a texture motion. I'm gonna have a little tiny hill right here. I just don't want it to be extremely smooth. And then with that same texture motion, I'm gonna go back upward. Like that. And then you want the texture to stay on the top. And then we're gonna fill in this entire area down here with the Payne's Gray or with black, whatever you have that is the darkest paint. And you can use whatever colors you would like with this painting. You can really make it your own by adding your special color palette to it. If you need a list of the colors that I used, just head over to my blog. I have a link written down below in the description, which can take you over there, and you will see all of the paint colors that I used. You will see even more detailed description of how I did this. You'll see the products that I used for this painting. So head over to my blog if you'd like any more specific details on how I did this. All right, and that was our last layer. I hope you guys enjoyed this painting with me. I hope you learned something by painting along with me. Please hit that subscribe button to not miss out on any new upcoming landscape watercolor tutorial videos. All you have to do now with this painting is let it dry, take the washi tape off or your painter's tape off, and enjoy the wonderful painting that you just created. I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye.